Good morning, everyone. My name's Abby Wensink, and I am with the Conservation Action Project in Northwest Ohio. This morning, I have our cover crop champions with us. They'll go ahead and give themselves a little bit of an introduction where they farm, what they're seeing, and just a little bit about what they do. So we'll go ahead and get started this morning with Ron.
Oh, hell, I'm Ron Snyder. Farm near Pemberville, Ohio is my address, in between Pemberville and Bowling Green, Ohio. Small farm, a couple hundred acres, 30 years in education. Uh, raised livestock for a good portion of that time. Currently, do not have any. But that's kind of my background there a little bit. Started in cover crops 9, 10 years ago. No tilling prior to that. Just kept trying to push the system, see what I could get out of it more than anything. And I've got some fields that are just really reacting to it, doing extremely well. And I got fields that, well, let's try to figure out what's going on here. So I tried some different things this year to try to move forward and see what's going on. Have done a lot of research in the subject, so to speak. Books, webinars, that type of thing. Going to be watching one tonight. So that's just a little bit about me.
Okay, thanks, Ron. What about you, Kent?
Well, my name is Kent Sonnenberg. I'm a dairy farmer from Henry County, southern Henry County. About 9 or 10 years ago, we purchased a larger dairy farm. We started out with 60 cows, and we're currently up to 1,400 cows. But in that process, we needed to have more corn. And so we were doing a lot of corn back to corn, and I had a choice there. I could either use tillage system to break up the cycle of corn back to corn, or I could use cover crops. And with the tillage system, what I was doing, I was running a tillage system ripper that ripped the soil, and then you would go back in and level that off. The total process, I figured, to rent the equipment was $16 for the ripper. Then with another $3 a gallon, it was up to $25 till you put the person in the tractor. And then you had to work the ground down. So in the total process, it was $50 to $60 in expense that I was going to have to come up with, or I could do cover crops and work into the system. Before that, I was going no-till back and forth. And at that point, I continually no-tilled. The problem with no-tilling one year and working the ground the next, your worm count is not there, your organic matter is not increasing, and your biologically, it just was not what we wanted to see. And it took a number of years because I started from scratch, because I was no-tilling, but I wasn't continually no-tilling. And at the present time, we see fields that have little erosion and just a better overall soil health.
Okay. And what about you, Les?
My name is Les Seiler. I farm in Fulton County, right near the Ohio-Michigan line. And we started no-tilling. I farm with my brother. We started no-tilling in 1986. And it was because of erosion. We knew that we just couldn't keep letting gullies go out of control year after year and tilling them shut. It was ridiculous. So we just decided we had to work towards a different system. And we'd been no-tilling for a long time, and we went down the strip till route and had some success with that. And in 2009, I believe it was, we started looking at the cover crop thing. And we found out that that was probably the system we had to go with because it helped us build our soil organic matter. Previous to that, with just the no-till, it was in nice shape, but we could never see improvements in it. And I honestly believe that it takes the cover crops to see that increase in organic matter. And when you start seeing that, a lot of other good things come into place. It's where your biological health comes in the soil, and just a whole different world, I guess, when you're out there with that. And now we're working with systems that we're planting green, just about everything, constantly chasing herbicides that we don't have residuals so that we can get in there and plant in the fall, an interseed or some sort of a cover crop, get it established before the end of this growing season, hopefully. I guess that's a little bit about us.
Yeah. So since you guys are all doing some no-till and you've got the cover crops in there, overnight here, it's May 19th as we're recording this. So overnight here in Wood County, I am just outside of Rudolph. We had about 2.5, 2 3/4 inches of rain. So what did you guys see rain-wise?
I'll go first. I got a subscription to the climate thing, and on our farms it ranges from 1.5 to 2.7 is what we had in the last 24 hours. And as I just went and verified my gauge at my place, I got 1.55, so it was relatively close. And I don't know if I want to go anywhere else because I got the least amount. It looks bad, lots of ponds. I guess I'm glad that we still have some cover crop that may be living. We didn't get everything sprayed over the last week. We got our corn and soybean crops pretty much completely planted, but we got a couple of them that we didn't get sprayed. So if anything, the green is going to help take up a little more water yet until we can get in there and spray them. It's wet, very wet. Went from really nice conditions planting, best we'd seen in years, to extremely wet again, full.
I had 2 inches, and you could see on the fields that the bare fields were a little muddy, and the no-till cover crop field was somewhat better. And I think, the holding the sediment on top, preventing it from going down to the stream is important, but wet is still wet, and we have to wait and see what comes next.
Yeah, I had 1.7 last night when I walked in the house. Haven't walked back outside, and I really don't want to. Everything around me is flooded as usual. And the cover crops do make a difference. The roots going down do channel water down. It is getting better. Retiled my farm here about 2 years ago where I live, and it's still working on finding those channels, so to speak, to move down. We did a lot of French drains this spring. I am flat. It doesn't roll anywhere, doesn't go anywhere. It just sits. So try to get the water off the top as much as possible and try to keep going here.
I was gonna say, and we're kind of the same way, where I'm sitting right now, I've got a window just over top of my screen, so I'm looking out into a cover crop field that was planted green. And yeah, there's a little bit of ponding, but that's our end rows. I can see down into the middle of the field there where we had some cereal rye, and that's still standing, still green. And then I look at the field directly behind the house, and that had vertical tillage ran over it before it was planted, And when I was looking at the corner of that field, so our end row corner of the field right there on the edge, there's actually, I would call it more of a pond with a lot of that residue that has now floated up across the field and is piling up there on the edge, watching the waves go across. So plenty of water. After last year, we're hoping that this isn't the start of that again. But I mean, being done with everything planted by, I think we were done May 12th. So it's a big difference from where things sat last year for us. I know we had talked a little bit earlier about some of the wind erosion that we had seen over the last couple of weeks. We had a couple big storms in there with just wind storms, not necessarily rainstorms. Do any of you guys want to talk about what you guys saw on that?
I'll start with that. I noticed a lot of corn stalks had left where they originated from. In one case, I seen where they blowed right into a ditch, and the ditch is less than 2 miles away, or 2.5 miles away from the Tiffin River. So by now they should easily be in the river on their way to the Maumee and Defiance, and soon to the Lake Erie situation. And that's the kind of thing I think that we gotta keep in the back of our heads of what we may have lost there. I mean, that tillage pass was a great thing, maybe to get your soybeans planted into the corn stalks, but you also lost some nutrient value there when those things get away. And probably something we need to assign a real value to, a dollar amount, to see if it was really worth that pass that we made when we lost those stalks. Some thoughts I had there.
I saw much of the same. The corn stalks blowing into the ditch and such, that isn't good, and that means we're going to have to clean them out more often. And also the nutrients lost. The wind erosion is huge too. In southern Putnam County, about a month ago, they had a high wind and on 613, which is from Road 2 to the county line in Putnam County, they had 3 accidents in 1 hour. Now, nobody was hurt, but that is an issue. If the wind blows across the road and the sand blows across the road, who is liable for that? And we really have to be careful of what we do, planting more cover crops, trying to hold the soil together, and creating less of a problem.
I agree with Les and Ken on this pretty much all the way, that there's a component here we're not even beginning to look at yet, and that's wind erosion. Everybody thinks it happens out west. No, it happens here. A little story here, so to speak. Last year with Prevent Plant, everybody had to get things planted within about 2 days from the sign up. So I happened to be out at the machine shed, my machine shed shop, working out there, and all of a sudden I heard this ungodly roar, and here's a neighbor coming in, and he's vertical tilling. It was an extremely windy day, and I watched that, and I watched it, and the dust that was moving was unbelievable. And so I did something a little crazy. I had some tile that I kind of wanted to level on the field, so what I did was agronomist come in, he took a soil sample on it. I took a soil sample off the dust that was on the field cultivator just to see what it was, where the nutrient levels were at, and it's quite astounding what we're losing. I guess just off the top, I'm going to talk about phosphorus. In the field, it was at 29 parts per million. Tested off the field cultivator was at 55. we're almost double on our nutrient losses on just about the whole thing. Very interesting to take a look at. And I think this is one of the areas that I think we really need to do some work at. Just stop and think. Neighbor rented a farm, come in, worked it once, worked it again, and then worked it a third time before he planted it to soybeans, which is fine. There's no problem there, but every time dust was moving. And we're losing that. We're losing the best nutrients off our fields, quite honestly, is what's happening with that.
Yeah, I think this wind erosion thing, Abby, we need to really take that into consideration here. I know it's not the Dust Bowl that they went through in the 30s or whenever that was, but it definitely creates issues. And I think we need to really look at what's leaving our land, because these corn stalks, maybe they're a pain when you're trying to plant into them or something, but there is nutrient breakdown value there, and we gotta take note to that. And I think keeping them on the land is really a great place for them. Letting them go through a normal decomp rate there and return it back to the land is a great thing.
Okay, well, if you guys don't have anything else, we invite you guys to listen in with us. We'll be doing live Zoom calls every other Thursday starting June 4th. So you can find all of that information on our website, capofohio.org. And we look forward to hearing from all of you.